What's good? What's good? What's good? What's good? Olympic break is upon us. And I just wanted to take this time to just kind of check in, do a deep dive of each team. You know, who's a contender, who's a pretender, who's been sliding up in the standings, who's been sliding down in the standings. To start, I'm going to start with the favorites, New York Liberty. Got to the finals last year against the Aces, lost in 4. That team just looked like they weren't, I don't know, prepared for the level of intensity that comes with the finals. I know that was Sabrina's first finals, so it definitely showed last year. But this year, you know, she's doing significantly better. She's showing that the things that were causing them problems, the things that were causing them problems in the finals last year, not going to be the same problems this year. New York Liberty 21-4 in their last 10, they're 9-1. Them 4 losses, I mean, very winnable games. I think 2 of them were blowouts. The other 2 came down to the wire. So, winnable games. They could be very well 23-2 to start the season. But when they took a loss to Minnesota this past year, they took a loss to Minnesota this season. And in that game, nobody shot well. It's a make or miss league. Stewie 8 for 18, 11 boards, 1 for 8 from 3. She's really struggling from 3 this year. I don't know if that's just a matter of fatigue. 20 points, 8 for 18, 11 boards. Sabrina had 13, 5 for 14 from the floor, 2 for 6. Sloot had 12 points, 5 for 12 from the field. And Jonquel Jones, she only had 4 points, 1 for 5. So even worse, an even worse game for her. So you get outplayed by Sloot, who's got you by at least like 20 years. But if you get outplayed by Sloot, who's, you know, at the tail end of her career, where you're coming off an MVP season a few seasons ago. New York went 6-2 in May. 6-2, and the only losses were, like I said before, Minnesota, Chicago. That Chicago loss seemed like it was just a matter of just lethargy, and you came out not respecting your opponent, and then they got confidence. They took off and ran with it. Like, that's not a loss that worries me because I feel like Chicago's better than what their record shows. A couple of missed free throws from Mabry puts them in a couple different, couple wins versus a couple losses. Chicago's a bad loss, but Minnesota isn't one of the better teams in the league. Definitely in the mix for title contention. So I'm not going to hold that against them too much, though. Everybody has a stinker every once in a while. But I will say what was significant in some of those losses, in those 2 losses in May, where Jonquel Jones didn't really shoot well, and she wasn't even aggressive, like to go 1 for 5, considering your role on the team. Missing isn't necessarily like, an indication of poor play, because like I said, the shot could just not be dropping. But what I don't like is the 1 for 5. Now, if you 1 for 10, 1 for 15, I can know that, you weren't discouraged by your losses or your misses. I know that you weren't discouraged by your misses, and you kept the defense honest, and you kept being aggressive. You missed that first one, you hit one, missed 2 in a row, then you go again a little later in the game, shoot again, you don't got it, you like, I'm gonna try and defer to my teammates, I'm gonna try and get some boards, get some assists. And you just stop being aggressive, stop putting that pressure on the defense. I mean, honestly, I don't know how much of a difference that would have made, considering she didn't shoot well. Nobody shot well. But it's just the 1 for 5s, the 1 for 4s, the 1 for 7s. Like, you're Jonquel Jones, and you know that this team goes as far as you go. So I can live with a 2 for 12. I can live with that because you were aggressive. I'm not gonna nitpick him on the losses, considering they only got 4 of them in 25 games. In June, they were in good shape, winning most of their games. They lost to Phoenix on June 18th. It was close. 93-99 was the final. Phoenix had 6 players in double figures this game, all of which shot over 45%. It's hard to defend that if everybody's just hitting everything. I'm sure you were in rotations the whole night, trying to run people off the 3, keep people, keep the dribble drives contained. And if for it to still come down to the wire, that just goes to show how much how much talent is on his team and how much that talent can keep it close even if they're having even if their opponent's having a great game. Phoenix's bench outscored New York's in that game, 11-point difference, 16-5 Phoenix way. You only lose by 6. That's it. Somebody else coming off the bench and giving you something scoring wise is what it is. And honestly, the bench has always been my concern for the start of this season, as well as a little bit last season. They were a little bit deeper with Marie Johannes. The team's bench has always been my concern. Betnijah Laney Hamilton is hurt right now, and Fibic has been starting for her in her absence. But I like Fibic. She definitely gives them something. She gives them something that I don't want to say they never had, because they have good perimeter defenders in Kayla Thornton and Betnijah Laney Hamilton. Great on-ball defenders. Both can, hit the three. Perfect 3-and-D players. But Fibic is just another body, another long body. 6'4", athletic, can move her feet, can shoot the ball. That gives them a whole new life off the bench. If Betnijah Laney Hamilton is in the game. So if you got her, Kayla Thornton coming off the bench, along with Sabally, you got a nice little bench squad. Like Fibic, I like what she brings to this team. She's almost like a Gabby Williams type of player. Which, a side note, I wonder who she's gonna be with after the Olympics. She is a bunch of teams that could definitely use a wing defender to shore up their roster, shore up their run if they're a playoff contending team. But anyway, back to Fibic. She's averaging 5.7 points, 2.7 rebounds, 1.7 assists, and 0.7 steals. Lucky number 7, huh? I feel like her stats doesn't necessarily reflect what she brings to this team, because you got great scorers in Stewie, Sabrina, Jonquel Jones. Those two can definitely handle the scoring load. They're going to get most of the attention from the defense. So for them to be able to kick it out to good shooters like Hamilton, like Thornton, and now like Fibic, because I ain't seen her miss a wide open 3 yet. Them contested ones, them late shot clock ones, she'll miss. But I have not seen a shot where she was set, square, and ready to shoot it, and it didn't go in. With Marie Johannes being out, with her Olympic team, she definitely filled that gap. Not at the clip that Marie Johannes does, and not with the flash that she does, because honestly, I miss her. Though that one-legged pull-up in the finals was crazy. To have the presence of mind to even do some shit like that is wild. Fibic is definitely filling in that role for them. I feel like, in a playoff run, you need your others to step up. We've seen it where, in the playoffs, either one of the stars not shooting well, or it's just a back and forth type of game. And then you got a random player, a role player that comes up and be like, all right, bro, I'm going to give you a quick 12 in this fourth quarter. I'm going to give you a quick 10 that that the other team is not expecting me to drop. The others always seem to come in with like impact plays, or like you think about like the star averaging 25, right? Star is averaging 25, another star is averaging 20. And then on the opposing team, you got a 25-point per game scorer, 20-point per game scorer. We saw this in the playoffs a couple years ago. Lonnie Walker IV lit up the Warriors when they were playing the Lakers and got them the dub. Everybody he got them that dub because the role players' points, what they contribute, just always takes the playoff contending team or the championship contending team over the hump. I just need you to hit a couple timely buckets, get a couple of timely stops. I kick it out to you late in the clock, knock it down. And that little 11 points that the role player might score, that takes him over the edge. So it's always the others when you're trying to make a deep playoff run. You know what you're going to get from your stars. So I really like Fibic on this team. She don't do too much. She don't demand the ball. She's not trying to be the star out there. She's not trying to put her bid in to be a franchise player elsewhere. So I really like what she brings to this team. I like her game. I like she never seems to be sped up. I like that she's a long defender, quick feet. Very sound on defense. She's taking some of the tougher assignments. If Laney Hamilton's not in the game or not playing at that time, she's going to take one of the tougher defensive assignments for this team. So And we already know how good Jonquel and Stewie are on the back end of the defense. So, and I feel like, everybody stay healthy. They really got it. They got a better chance than they did last year, just with the extra bodies and obviously with the experience, but with the extra bodies. Just something that I felt was their weakness coming into the game. I just felt like the perimeter defense, you got Sabrina and Sloot back there who aren't exactly defensive stoppers, and it's a lot to ask of Sloot at this stage in her career to guard the starting point guard of the other team and be able to shut her down. So to have players like Lainey Hamilton, Thornton, and Phoebich on the bench to take care of those defensive assignments, on top of Sabrina, stepping up her defense a little bit this year as well. She's not exactly, a Lou Dort, she's no Elena Beard, but she's definitely, holding her own a little bit more this season, not being pushed off her spots as easy. I know what I'm going to get from Lainey Hamilton. I know what I'm going to get from Thornton. But Phoebich on this team, great pickup, great fit. A lot of teams could use a Phoebich right now, I'm not going to lie. Well, let's start with Stewie. I don't know what's up with her. She didn't play last year, or didn't play this past season overseas. I know these ladies be playing overseas in these in the off season, obviously make you money. This has been going on since ever, and hopefully with the new leagues popping up and new options for to play basketball domestically, I'm sure they would relish in that fact to not have to leave their families or be, that far away from their families, and being able to maybe take a little trip in between games. But I don't know what's up with Stewie. I don't know if the legs is dead. Maybe on a burnout type of situation, going to the finals. She didn't play overseas last year, so I don't know what's going on with the 3-point shot. I don't know if she's just, just the grueling season as far as with the Olympic break coming up, and they wanted to cram as many games as they could before that break. I think she played like 3 games in 5 nights or something like that. So a lot of teams ran into like weird scheduling situations and a lot of like crammed games into, a small amount of time. So I will give her grace in that regard. But I don't know what's up. Oof. Shooting 23%. Shooting 23% from 3. I don't know what's up. Like, we know Stewie. We know Stewie's a fucking bucket. We know Stewie's a bucket. We know she can put the ball in the basket. She had a quiet 31 in that All-Star game. So we know what she's about. But 23% from the 3. And it's gotten so bad when they played Indiana and they lost, like, she had wide open 3. She wasn't even trying to take them. She would pump fake and try and get into the get into the paint and pass it off, or try to, create something else. So it's like, I mean, obviously you're in your body. When you ain't hit a shot in a long time. That it's only been 1 shot in 20 attempts and it's not looking good. But she wasn't even trying to shoot the ball. She was just dribbling it into the paint, into no man's land, and trying to make a play. And had she made some of those shots, they could have got that win in Indiana. But credit to Indiana's defense, credit to NaLyssa Smith for keeping her out the mix, just being in her body, making her work hard for every bucket she got, crashing the offensive glass, making them play defense continuously. And we know how Indiana likes to run, so that definitely worked in their favor as far as just making sure she has no legs to shoot and make these shots. But 23% from the 3, shooting 45% from the floor overall, so not terrible. And we know that she can post up. We know that she can get into the paint. We know that she don't need to sit up and shoot threes. That's not the only thing that she has in her game. And I do wonder, do you credit the defensive side of the game or the defensive side of the ball? Her, Stewie having to guard a little bit more, her being a little bit older. Sometimes she's in that free safety position on defense. If Jonquel Jones is guarding whomever on the ball, I know sometimes they'll alternate who's going to be that free safety. It's just uncharacteristic to see Stewie playing, to see Stewie shooting like this from long distance. Even last year's final, she looked just straight up tired, just straight up burnt out, and that was with no Olympic team. So I wonder how that's going to shake out with her being in the Olympics, having to come back, try to make a deep playoff run, playing overseas last year. She skipped that, so I'm sure that's saving her legs a little bit. But to still be shooting 23% is crazy. It's a make or miss league, and we know people go through slumps. Marina Mabrey went through a slump the start of the season. So she's averaging this season 19.3 points, 9 boards, 4 assists, 2 steals. That's a good stat line. Some people would kill to have those averages. To have those averages and be like, yeah, she's not looking like she's all the way in the mix or too much engaged is crazy. Because imagine if she was engaged. Imagine if she was shooting well. She could easily be up to 25, 27 points a game. So they're winning. So that's really just hiding all of that from. They're winning games, so people aren't going to nitpick these things. But had they gone on the little slide, they'd be like, what's up with Stewie? Is this a good fit? Do you blow it up? You know how the conversations go. But she's just not having the season from the three-point line that I would have expected. So that's a little bit of a head scratcher. But Sabrina Ionescu has been stepping up in her absence offensively, as well as when JJ feel like she don't want to show up today, or she get put into the mix as far as, I lost my train of thought. I ain't gonna hold you. Lost my train of thought. The biggest question, I ain't gonna hold you with Stewie, is will she look like how she did last year in the finals if they make it to the finals again this year? I mean, if the playoffs started today, I believe that they can beat Chicago in a series. Chicago might get one if, everything come out. Actually, I don't know if Chicago won't get one. With the loss of Marina Mabrey, I'm actually a little concerned as far as what it's going to look like for Chicago the rest of the season. But nonetheless, Stewie not shooting great from 3, not having a terrible season, but you can definitely tell that there's something off. Sabrina Ionescu has been stepping up in her absence. And I ain't going to say in her absence because she's been there. She's missed a couple games, but on the other hand, Sabrina, 19.4 points, 4.3 boards, 6.2 assists, and a steal. Enough can be said about the improvements she's made defensively and the improvements that Sabrina's made offensively. Her floater game is a little bit more polished. She's getting into the paint a little bit more. She's finishing through contact better. It just seems like a fire is lit under her. I don't know what exactly it could be. What lit that fire? It could be how they were getting, hounded on the defensive end in the finals last year, and how Tiffany Hayes gave them problems when they played Connecticut, and Dejanay Carrington gave them problems when they played Connecticut. So, the great defensive guard's always been a problem with Sabrina. She's not exactly like a physically gifted person. I mean, she can knock that. She knocking the 3 down, no problem, but we know that same thing with Steph. He was getting pushed around a little bit. So Sabrina was getting pushed around a little bit in the finals and in that series against Connecticut. And we saw how Vegas came out in that finals. Those first couple games, they on their neck, blowout wins, just looked like New York had just been caught off guard and looked like deers in headlights. So to see Sabrina coming back with that different type of aggression when she drives the ball, and when she plays Connecticut, she balls out. Dejanay Carrington's Defensive Player of the Year for the work she's done on every other guard in the league except Sabrina. Dropped 30 last time that they played Connecticut. I don't know if it's personal, but I'm here for the great hoop. With Sabrina this year, we know what she can do from the three-point line. We see what she did in the All-Star games, All-Star weekends for both the WNBA and the NBA. But this year, it seems like she's taking her game to the next level. She's nearly doubled her points in the paint, 3.4 last year up to 6.2 this year. It has definitely showed she's going to be a more, a multi-dimensional scorer. She's going to get into that paint. She's going to knock down that floater. The only concern I have as far as with Sabrina is just the same I have with Stewie. It's just fatigue. Will she be fatigued coming off of the Olympics and then you trying to make a deep playoff run? That's literally the only question. Because when the shot's not dropping, will you have enough to be able to get over the hump against some of these better teams? But she's just been playing really well. She just looked motivated this season. I mean, I'm not the only one who noticed it. who notices it. She's definitely on a mission this year. She would be in MVP talks if Asia just wasn't on a fucking tear. If Asia wasn't on the tear and having a year she's having, she would be in the conversation, just with the record that they have and how her game's improved. The big three, this team only goes as far as the big three goes, and especially goes as far as Jonquel Jones goes. She brings in that post presence. She puts pressure on the defense to double, to get her off her spot, and then she's kicking it to the wide open shooters, and they're knocking it down. I won't say an X factor because I feel like we already know that she's significant in the role on this team, having impact and having big games in the playoff run. So that's one thing. But if Sabrina continue her play, JJ continues to elevate her play and not fall off and just be consistent with it, staying aggressive, this team could very well win it all. I'm not even lying. They got the pieces, they got the motivation. Barring any injury, I can't see too many teams standing in their way and putting them out. I like Vegas. I like Minnesota. But both of their key players are hurt or not looking up to form with Chelsea Gray and Nafisa Collier. So we're going to see how that works out. Love to JJ. 15.6 points, 9.2 rebounds, 3.5 assists, 6.6 steals. I said she has some games where you just kind of like, where is she? Why is she not being aggressive? Why is she camped out at the three-point line? Like, we know she can knock it down. Actually shooting well from the three this year. But we know that that's just more of a bonus to her game. We know that she can get down there and bang and get any bucket she wants over either shoulder against any opponent. Been an MVP in this league before, got to the finals. So she know what it takes to win in this league. She know what it takes to, get your team there and what's to be expected of her so that New York can get over the hump. This team goes as far as she goes. And if she can't put it together on a nightly basis, obviously it's not going to work out for them. She's not going to the Olympics, so she'll be having time to relax and regroup over this break. It was just a couple games this season where I just felt like, did somebody get in her head and she got out of her game completely? I don't know what Aaliyah Boston be saying to these centers, bro. I'm telling you, Aaliyah Boston must be talking real spicy when nobody's looking, because these centers be ready to take her head off. And I'm like, bro, you can't be that mad she giving you buckets. It can't be just buckets that got you this hot. It can't be. For her to not stay aggressive in that Indiana game speaks to Indiana's, dedication to getting that win and how hungry they were to get that win. Especially, the last time they played, it was an ugly game. I think Caitlin Clark had 3 points. Wasn't the greatest game for them. Nobody really showed up for that game other than Sabrina, and she didn't even shoot it well. So JJ didn't show up, and then it resulted in a loss, an ugly loss. And that pretty much just summarizes her significance to this team and how successful they can be down the stretch. We know what the big three bring to the table for New York. So now we just, back to the others, like I was saying. Betnijah Laney-Hamilton, I know she's been dealing with the injury in and out the lineup the last few games, but her being on the team, or her being efficient and taking on the defensive assignment. 3-and-D player going to take the tough assignment on the offensive, on the defensive end, going to guard the other team's best player, try to take them out the mix, make it as hard as they can on them. This season, she's averaging 12.7 points, 4.5 boards, 3.6 assists, 1.4 steals. Like I said, honestly, the expectation from Laney-Hamilton is just lock up that other team's best defensive player, knock down a couple timely threes as the game go on. Call me crazy. I personally, when they played Indiana, I personally would have had her taking the shot because she was shooting better from the field. I know what Sabrina can do, but for them to have success, they got to find that trust in the others. And the others obviously got to prove it. They got to step up. She's shooting about 47% from the field, 38% from three. It's pristine role player numbers right there. It just remains to be seen. Everybody got to stay healthy. Everybody got to be on the same page. I know they got a one common goal in mind. Nobody likes to get to the finals and lose. So I know they've been thinking about that all off season. And they're ready to come back with a vengeance and get it done this time. And honestly, like I said, they got the pieces to make it happen. Even with Stewie not shooting great from three, and the inconsistency from JJ on certain days, certain games, and Sabrina being aggressive but not exactly being efficient all the time, they 21-4. number one in the league. Fine tune some things over this break. Ride that. Ride the adrenaline of the Olympics. I honestly feel like the ladies gonna get gold. So just ride that. Come off with a gold medal from Stewie and Sabrina, and then get right back to work. Honestly, I feel like them, Minnesota, Vegas are the real contenders in this league as of right now. So we'll see how it go. But what they need to do, who needs to do it so that they can get to the promised land. One of the favorites this season as well. So that'll be my next one. Getting into how Napheesa Collier's injury affects them, and if she come back but she's not 100%, how that would look and how that would tip the scales in their favor or not. But that's my spiel.